Hello, I'm Mark Frieberg, Wildlife Law Enforcement Supervisor with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. And today on Arizona Wildlife Views, we'll show you how Arizona Game and Fish volunteers come together to help both wildlife and ranchers. Plus, we'll introduce you to one man's personal mission to document a world worth saving. And later, we take you on a special southern Arizona hike that shows you Arizona's link to its colonial past. All this and more starts right now on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Volunteers are an extremely important resource here at the Arizona Game and Fish Department. Today we show you how they are helping to preserve both wildlife and a historic ranch near Winslow at the same time. Take a look.
The day always starts early on the Oaxaca Cattle Ranch near Winslow, and this day is no exception. The only difference is these workers are volunteers brought together to help both the cattle and the wildlife that share this huge ranch.
The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation got into a partnership with our department and the Oaxaca Ranch back in 1997. They've been doing annual projects ever since, so this is their 21st annual project.
The project is part of the Arizona Game and Fish Adopt a Ranch program, which partners interested members of the public with landowners and game and fish to mitigate problems associated with public recreational access. Today, these sportsmen and women will be helping with 3 projects: repairing a boundary fence, removing old fencing that can be a hazard to both cattle and wildlife, and putting in 3 new water troughs made from giant truck tires.
The Adopt a Ranch program is a program that we've referred to it as a win-win-win program. It benefits the Game and Fish Department, it benefits the rancher, and it benefits the sportsman.
Well, it means a lot to us because these are the little things that we can't get done ourselves with all the other things we have to do. So we get the Rocky Mountain Foundation to come out here and help us once a year, and we try to spread as many men out as we can and get as many things done as we can. We're putting in troughs today, we're rolling up old fence, we're repairing the forest boundary fence, so we've got quite a crew going here today.
Over the years, the Oaxacas have run 42 miles of pipe that feed 36 waters across the ranch. When the cattle are removed from one area, they don't turn the water off. They leave it running so any thirsty critter can get a drink.
This ranch is over 100,000 acres, and it's important habitat for a variety of wildlife. And with all this water now out on the ranch, it actually ends up attracting elk year-round. So it's a very important ranch for elk, but also for pronghorn, mule deer, just a variety of wildlife, black bears, turkeys.
Oaxaca Cattle Company has been recognized repeatedly for being good stewards of the land. This 3rd generation of ranchers was honored in 2009 with the Arizona Game and Fish Commission's Habitat Stewardship Award. In 2015, Jim Oaxaca was inducted into the Wildlife for Tomorrow's Outdoor Hall of Fame, and in 2017, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association honored them with their prestigious Environmental Stewardship Award.
The cows have to have the same thing that the game does. So we have to take care of the game just like we have to take care of the cows. You take care of the cows, that'll take care of the game.
Providing more water throughout the ranch also improves range conditions. If animals have to walk to the same place every day for a drink, their hooves can kill vegetation. With more waters to pick from, the land has more time to recover.
I am helping out in making water troughs.
The volunteers who spend their days working as ranch hands get a lot out of the program too.
Well, I thought that this would be pretty interesting. I'm a city girl and I'm coming out here with my husband and learning something new and hanging out with the cows, and this is a pretty neat experience.
Well, I've been an outdoorsman, and everybody in my family's been an outdoorsman for generations, and you know, everybody I think that really is involved in the outdoors has, I think, a desire to give something back. You know, it's just, especially when you have an opportunity like, you know, working with the Oaxaca family. You know, it's really a huge benefit to everybody and that hunts and fishes and camps to be able to support these guys. What they're, you know, allowing us to do is very beneficial to us, and it's just nice to come out once a year and help them out. It's a very small price to pay.
Okay, come on out now.
Turn it down a little bit.
The Oaxaca Ranch has been around since 1898, and with the careful stewardship of the family and programs like this one, it will no doubt be benefiting both cattle and wildlife for generations to come.
You know, I'd really like people to see that there's great beauty and intelligence in the eyes of these animals. They're worth saving. They're worth getting back to the point where they thrive. Not just barely holding on, but actually thriving in the correct habitat. That's what I really hope, is that people look these animals in the eye and fall in love with them as I have, and be moved to save them while there's still time. Hi there. Sure, how would you like to sign?
Meet Joel Sartore. He's a National Geographic photographer and founder of the Photo Ark.
So the Photo Ark started about 12 years ago, and we're at about 8,000 species now, photographed on black and white backgrounds using studio lighting. We figured that among the world's accredited zoos, aquariums, and wildlife rehabbers and private breeders, there's about 15,000 species of animals. And so we're about halfway done, a little bit more than halfway done. Another 15 years or so. If I make it that long, we'll be finished.
He has a lot of personality.
Animal ambassadors greeted guests as they arrived at the Phoenix Zoo's Stonehouse Pavilion in February of 2018. They were here to see Joel Sartore. He was at the zoo to snap some photos, sign his book, and share his story of the Photo Ark with a packed house of about 300 people.
The number one question I get when I talk, by the way, is people say, well, have you ever come close to getting killed on assignment? One lady asked me if I ever had been killed on assignment.
His presentation is fun, but his message is serious.
If we keep going the way we're going, where we just consume the face of the earth and take all the trees and take all the fish, I mean, yeah, we're going to lose massive numbers of species, like massive, like millions. And it won't take that long, you know, in terms of geologic time. But the good thing is that there's time to turn things around, and also nature will come roaring back. We just have to give it a break. If we set aside large blocks of habitat, that really is a lot of what Photo Ark is about. It's just teaching people to be better stewards. And we do that by getting them into the tent of conservation, by just falling in love with an animal they think is attractive, or a type of animal, and hopefully people will make the right choices. That's all we can hope for.
He hopes his photos will inspire people to take action, which includes supporting organizations that conserve wildlife.
So Arizona Game and Fish, they've done a tremendous job as far as helping to support things like the Mount Graham red squirrel, black-footed ferret, Chiricahua leopard frog. You can go on and on. These are species that a lot of them are really specific to the desert Southwest, and without places like Phoenix Zoo and Arizona Game and Fish, who's going to save them? You know, and Arizona Sonora Desert Museum as well, and the wildlife rehab centers that exist here. These are all entities that are pushing towards the same goal, and that is to allow these species to persist without all these organizations, these species would be gone by now. So to say I'm a fan is an understatement.
Joel has plenty of fans himself. More than 1 million people follow him on Instagram, where he posts new photos almost daily.
These animals are a lot more than what my pictures render.
With a deep respect for wildlife, Joel works quickly to minimize stress on the animals when he photographs them.
We're not doing a lot of frames, you know, maybe a dozen on some things, less on others. And we try to just get done as quickly as we can. Yeah, and then we share all the pictures with every zoo and aquarium we work with. They get the pictures free of charge, and they can use them as they see fit. And hopefully these pictures will continue to go to work long after we're all dead and gone. You know, we want these pictures to get out there and continue to go to work to save species. That's what it's about.
Each image is beautiful in its intimate simplicity, and Joel says it's difficult to choose a favorite.
One of them is a California condor that I photographed here at the Phoenix Zoo. You can see he's not only magnificent looking and the colors are stunning, but he's an intelligent animal and he's checking me out. He's looking at himself also in the reflection of my lens. And this is a bird that, as I was a child, was down to nothing, you know, fewer than 2 dozen, and it's been saved by people that care. So that picture meant a lot to me personally, because it's an animal that's the first time I ever got to meet one up close, and it was just a big honor to photograph the bird. Well, most difficult are chimps. What do you think?
This video from Joel's presentation demonstrates why.
They're pretty strong. I hear they can rip your arm off and beat you to death with it, right? Exactly. They're smart and they're fast, they're strong. They're pretty difficult for me to photograph well. So now, doesn't this look nice? Doesn't this look nice? Perfect. It's perfect for chimps.
Money from Joel's books and his speaking engagements go back into the Photo Ark, as well as on-the-ground conservation and education projects. Looking at the vast collection of images in the Photo Ark, it's hard not to feel a sense of urgency. Some of the species Joel's photographed have already gone extinct.
What are you going to do? Seriously, going forward, what will you do? Don't wait for somebody else to save that cute leopard frog, or that desert cottontail, or that valley you used to love when you were growing up. Don't wait for it. Take it on. The goal really is to do what you can, make the world a better place as best you can, and that's it. You know, no, I don't expect to see results really in my lifetime, but hopefully this will help. It's all I knew to do. I didn't know what else to do. It's the best I could think of. Best thing I could think of. So.
Now it's up to us to see what we can save together.
Hi, my name is Pilar Wolters, and I've worked for the Arizona Game and Fish Department for 9 years. I am a fish research biologist specializing in Grand Canyon fishes. Fish biology is really one of those fields where you get to handle the species a lot, so that's pretty cool. I was an intern in 2008 for Region 2 Fisheries. I did originally want to be a wildlife manager. I grew up hunting and fishing, and I realized I don't like confrontation. So I figured being a wildlife manager probably wasn't the best idea for me. I got into doing this research and fish surveys, and it's a lot of fun. You know, I work in one of the 7 wonders of the world. I participate in the long-term monitoring of the Colorado River fishes from Glen Canyon Dam to Lake Mead. And I also do research on razorback sucker, flannel sucker hybridization. Being in the research branch as a research biologist is really a good fit for me because I'm always asking questions. And you know, it's nice to kind of be in a place where I can attempt to answer my own questions.
This is the scenic Boyce-Thompson Arboretum State Park near Superior, Arizona. It's known for its plants, but it's also home to all sorts of wildlife.
It's a greater earless lizard. They have those.
And today, these folks are here to see lizards.
everybody wants to come over this way, you're not going to frighten them.
They're going on a lizard walk, led by Arizona Game and Fish biologist Dan Levitt.
So if you see my shadow coming in closer, I'm pointing at him and he's moving up to the top of the, there he goes. And sometimes they'll play with a noose. Sometimes they'll run right through it. You got him. It won't hurt the lizard. It'll catch him around the neck, and then we can look at him up close. Thank you. So that's a very, very common lizard for Arizona, the tree lizard. You guys should start looking in the trees. There are a lot of lizards in the trees. You'll see a lot on the ground for sure, and there's probably more species and more individuals on the ground, but you'd be surprised how many you'll find in canopies. We have tree lizards, we have spiny lizards, 2 species of spiny lizards that are bigger than tree lizards, much more chunky. We have some of the highest lizard diversity in the US here in Arizona, and it's a point of pride for me. And I'm a lizard geek, lizard freak. I love them. So I think it's really important that we share that with as many folks as possible. Get the word out, really. It's a whiptail, a tiger whiptail. They're notoriously hard to noose. They see you and they're gone. Good job. Good job on the capture. So that's a tiger whiptail. So general pattern for the males and females are gonna be a black chin, like that, jet black. A desert spiny lizard, Scoloporus magister, if you're into the whole Latin thing. This is a female. Females do have a little bit of color on their backs, and sometimes during breeding conditions they'll turn orange, sometimes yellow. And now he's biting me, she's biting me. It's all right. You can see how long their scales are, and that's why they're called spiny lizards.
Do you catch these a lot?
Yeah, they're fairly easy to catch. Getting the next generation involved in learning about the diversity in their backyard is so important, especially in this generation of digital technology, when you could learn about all of the species on your iPad, but you really can't learn about them until you have them in your hand or touch them or see them in life.
Few things are as good for your mind, body, and soul than a good riverside hike.
It's a lovely trail. It's a good hiking, walking experience out in nature, in shade, which is hard to find. But you're also connecting history here.
In the southern Arizona town of Tubac, the Juan Bautista de Anza Trail might also be a good way to see and learn some Arizona history.
This trail follows the route that Juan Bautista de Anza followed to found the city of San Francisco.
The Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail is the 4-mile stretch between the Tubac-Presidio State Park and the Tumacacre National Historic Park.
If you're walking from the Tubac-Presidio to Tumacacre, you're going to leave the community that was with Spanish settlers and soldiers protecting this area, and you'll be walking the same route that these people would have walked going between these two communities. They would have followed the river, they would have followed the lowlands. So you're following right in their steps and then coming out at the next community to the south, the mission community where the priest was and the O'odham people were living. So it's a real opportunity to feel and encounter history.
It's like stepping into the past. The canopied trail opens up to see what someone saw back then.
You can see this intriguing old building with this white dome showing up, kind of sticking up out of the trees. And if you come in off the trail or come up and approach it, it's very striking and has a real impact of history. The church that is standing here was started around 1800 and in use by the 1820s. And the significance of it goes far beyond the fact that it is a beautiful old adobe structure. It sort of is the remaining sign of an entire community that existed here for a long time, an O'odham community that then came under Spanish influence, and then this structure is a Spanish-style church built once the community had developed into a Spanish-style mission community. This church and San Javier del Bac up near Tucson, those are the two remaining examples of a mission structure here in Arizona. And it is absolutely striking to come across these gigantic structures. They were designed to emulate European cathedrals. So using mud, this is just sun-dried mud adobes, using just mud and plaster and the materials they could get around here, they were recreating a cathedral in the middle of the desert. Adobe it's a strong material, and yet it's a fragile material. You need a good thick adobe wall to support a tall structure. So the church at the base is, it's 9 feet thick in the bell tower area. It's 6 feet thick in the rest of the church. So that's a lot of adobe mass you're talking about there. It's fragile because it's just mud. It's just mud dried in the sun. And so you have to have a good layer of lime plaster protecting it from the rain. So that lime plaster on the structure is very thick. So the thickness of that lime plaster and the thickness of the adobe have allowed this church to not melt away as many of the other attendant structures, the convento and smaller structures that weren't as thick and as thickly plastered, that have not been able to weather. You have a monsoon rain and you have exposed dried mud and it will wash away.
Inside the mission, there are more marvels.
The sanctuary area is the best example of paint. There are a few other traces of where you can see the original paint and plasters left inside the church. But the sanctuary area has a dome which has protected it all these years. So that is the area where you can see most of the remaining paints. And you can see quite a few different colors. The whole church would have originally been brightly colored and painted.
There are two wondrous things about the Ansa Trail and the Tumacacori mission. You wouldn't expect to see them both in the middle of an Arizona desert.
People's initial reaction here is often amazement. They'll come in the front door and they won't have any idea what it is. They'll have come off the frontage road and they'll say, what is there to see here? Once they've come out onto the grounds and seen the building, it's a very different reaction. They come back and they're amazed by what they've seen. And that feeling of having encountered history is something we hear. We hear that it feels like the people are here. They're like they could feel the history here in a way that they don't feel even at San Javier. They feel spiritual about it. They feel the peacefulness of it. People feel that historical and spiritual connection almost universally.
Arizona's got so many interesting places and wildlife to see. I'm Mark Frieberg with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. Until next time, get out there and enjoy Arizona's wildlife views.
To subscribe to Arizona Wildlife Views magazine, which includes the Arizona Wildlife Views calendar, call 1-800-777-0015 or visit www.azgfd.gov/magazine.